I am completely unhinged. I went to the grocery store, and while standing in line, I was trying to guess who voted against my rights. And I couldn't guess anymore. I was out of guesses. Because you're like sheep in wolf's clothing. And I just wanted to scream, who the here voted against my mother rights? Didn't though, mostly because my throat hurt.
The majority of America did. And of course, she has a navel ring and dreadlocks. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. And we are going to be live here on thebestpoliticalshow.com. As of course, we're going to be discussing all the latest and craziest news that is developing right now on the internet. As there's a lot to get into today, as of course, Biden looks happier than ever with Trump today, which is kind of surprising. This, as of course, Tulsi Gabbard, Matt Gaetz, Marco Rubio have all been appointed to a high-level position at Trump's administration, as there are still a lot of appointments up in the air. The future of the Senate, though, doesn't look too good under its future leadership, as of course there are still a lot of important decisions to make, lots of developments happening all around social media with some very interesting things happening right now. So we're going to be discussing that, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast for the next 2 hours. So please share this broadcast with your friends and family members, because it's one of the few things that actually gets this video, gets this podcast out there to the general public. And as the news comes in, we will be reacting to it live, as of course we greatly appreciate you guys being a part of the broadcast, and we give back to you as much as we can. And one way we do that is of course through LukeUnfiltered.com. This allows you not only to be a part of our secret chat right now, but most importantly, it gives you access to a Telegram channel, and we will be going to you in about an hour and a half from now, where you could be a part of the show in a totally unscripted way, just by simply signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. Tell me you want to call in. Right now, we don't have a caller. That caller could be you, just by signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. First-time callers also get free products from WeAreChange.shop, and this is our previous caller that is getting a package of the ashwagandha that we're going to be sending him just for simply calling in. We're going to be doing our best to read any and all super chats, but of course, we're going to be prioritizing MySuperChat.com, a platform that only takes a 3% service charge. We also have a fundraiser going on right now, so I don't end up in jail, as of course we got a surprise $180,000 IRS bill, which is not fun to deal with, as we are now, Atlas is not happy about it either, as we are financing for a lawyer by selling special limited edition Make America Not Fat Again hats. Atlas, this is not a positive commercial, don't worry, but if you come over here and behave, you will get a special treat, as of course the conversation is definitely going to be very lively, very interesting today, as we got a lot of great people here in studio with us. One of them is, of course, Mark Lobliner. Mark, for the people who don't know you, who are you and how would you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Mark Lobliner. I'm an IFBB Pro. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at TigerFitness.com, partner at Ambrosia Collective. So, yeah, if you want to support me, go to TigerFitness.com. Also, follow me on social media at Mark Lobliner, MarkLobliner.
Caitlin Sinclair also in the house as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you coming in as well. Who are you, for the people who don't know who you are?
Okay. Who am I, professionally or personally?
Everything.
I don't think.
Tell us all.
Me personally. Okay. Well, currently I am the spokeswoman for Turning Point Action with Charlie Kirk and the gang over there. Formerly, I was a correspondent with One America News. Born and raised New Yorker, 5th generation, and staunch lover of America and conservative.
I don't know how you do it in New York City, a place that I fled successfully after they were literally talking about shutting down the bridges there. Lots of crazy stuff developing there, but we'll talk about that. Yes. Lots of things to talk about politically, as of course the landscape of this country is changing, the culture is changing, and the conversation is changing too, to I think some very positive developments that are really awesome to get into. Robbie Mann also in the house here as well. Robbie, who are you?
Yo. I'm spreading the love. Doing interviews on the street. If you want to see them on my Twitter, the Robbie Man, ROBBIEMANN. Really excited with the Elon and Vivek and the Tulsi announcements, even Matt Gaetz. Looking forward to an amazing show.
Stephanie is ready to dominate the conversation and totally take charge, right, Steph?
No dominating from me today. This is Steph. We are changed, pushing the buttons.
All right, let's get into it. As of course, we had Atlas. Why are you so excited today? She's kind of pumped up with the energy that's kind of going around here as Donald Trump is making a lot of really important appointments to his future administration. I felt like today we got a lot of different news. At first, we were kind of, me personally, a little disappointed with Marco Rubio. The internet was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And then we were layered with lots of good news with Tulsi Gabbard, of course, being announced as the future Director of National Intelligence, a very important position within Trump's cabinet. And of course, then we had the major news of Matt Gaetz being officially announced as the future Attorney General of the United States. And out of all of the announcements today, I think this is the biggest one. I think this is the one that I'm really most excited about, as of course, this is going to be the man that's going to be the future Attorney General of the United States. And here's a clip of him in his absolute prime.
Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
I love it. I can't believe that is going to be the future Attorney General of the United States. I'm a little biased. I, of course, know Matt personally. He's a great sport. I asked him once if we could pretend to be Beavis and Butthead with some nachos. He said absolutely and took this photo with me as well. He's a very personable guy. He's a very smart guy. And I think out of all the members of Congress, he is one of the most based members of Congress who has really been fighting for the American people. So seeing him in this important role, I think, is going to be absolutely revolutionary. Super excited for him. I don't know about you guys, but this is, for me, the best appointment so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy. Like, when you look at someone who's not afraid to say something, who isn't afraid to offend people, and after the ish show that we've seen with the current, what do you call it, regime.
Sure.
We have someone who I think can bring it back, and actually bring some semblance of law and order to this country.
Yeah, and talk about not caring to offend people. We need to bring back bullying to this country. I don't know who's on board here, but I say this all the time. We have kids, we have adults, actually, that have no coping mechanisms. They're offended by air. They're offended by everything. And someone like Matt Gaetz is just going to take down the house. So I'm all on board.
I'm super excited. I don't know where he should begin, where he should start. I don't know if you guys have any kind of ideas what he should kind of do as his first official kind of role as Attorney General of the United States. But this is a big role. This is going to be a major player in our political discourse that I think is going to be cleaning house, because he knows where the skeletons are buried. He's seen what has happened within Congress. He has seen the special interest groups that have hijacked the will from the American people. So him being there and the battles that he had, especially when it came to deciding the Speaker of the House of the United States, were absolutely epic. And if there's one man that actually, stands up for his ideas and has the scruples to, do what he says he's going to do, it is him. But if you're him, what's the first action that you take?
Well, they weaponized it, right?
Yeah.
The Justice Department was completely weaponized. So my answer is weaponize it back. Let's put people under pressure. Let's throw people in jail. Can he go after Merrick Garland? Can he? No, I mean, is there like some immunity for Merrick Garland for the stuff that he pulled? Is he able to go back and say the guy who was in here before me weaponized this entire system? Yeah. And I mean, that's what we need to look at. It's the Republicans have this great way of playing nice. They're we're going to be nice. And the Democrats are like, no, we're throwing everyone in jail. They went after Trump.
Yeah, he's got to make sure next time, someone like Trump is running or it gets into office, they got to make sure they're not weaponizing things against him. I mean, they threw these charges against him. They did all these different things. They impeached him. They're trying to make the American public think he's this horrible figure. And that we see when you see the real Trump, when you watch the Joe Rogan interview, you see how he is, and it's just not how they depict him, not how they tried to kill him too. So
I think it's interesting because you have some of these really notable figures, like actors, athletes, people in Hollywood, like a Dennis Quaid coming out, and a lot of these folks only came out because they said it was after the Department of Justice tried to weaponize their power against a sitting presidential candidate, a former president, political persecution here. That is why some of these folks put really their livelihoods on the line and their reputations on the line to actually come out in staunch support of now presidential-elect Donald Trump. So I think that was really interesting to see some of these notable figures do that as well.
Yeah, we've seen that this time, and it was great because in 2020 we didn't have all these notable figures coming out. They were scared. It was the silent majority, and we had that, as you saw with the landslide victory. But it was great to see all these people come out and just be openly supporting Trump this time. We got to end the corruption. I mean, the corruption is there, and I'm so happy Trump won. I think if Kamala would have won, we'd be in bad shape.
Really bad.
No, absolutely, and I think truly, if he's going to be doing, as his first kind of larger kind of representative action, he has to kind of unwind this whole Russian collusion narrative and find out who actually started it, hold those people accountable. That would be the first move that I would hope he would do in order to kind of prevent larger actions that are going to be made against the future president of the United States, Donald Trump. Because there's probably some people within the media, the intel agency community that are kind of saying, what's the next kind of thing that we're going to roll out like they did in 2016. And in 2016, it was nonstop offensive propaganda efforts to stop Donald Trump. It's probably in the works now. They're just kind of waiting for him to take office, and then they're going to say it was, Russia. They tried to do it beforehand when Donald Trump was still campaigning, and those kind of propaganda efforts didn't work. So I think they're trying to conceive something else that's going to be able to take away from the narrative, because that Russian collusion narrative in 2016 took a lot of steam away from Donald Trump's administration. Everyone who supported him was labeled as a Russian asset. Everyone was slandered. Everyone was attacked, and it was all based off lies. Now, who committed those lies? Who ran this larger psyop? I hope Matt Gaetz finds out, and if there ever is going to be anyone who does, it's going to be him. So I'm super excited about that particularly as well.
I mean, they're doing it with you go on Twitter right now. They're saying Tulsi's a Russian asset, which is completely ridiculous.
She is an active service member. She couldn't be further away from you don't think they vet them?
Yeah.
You don't think they vet them when they're in the military if she's a Russian agent? But the thing about Democrats is even if something is proven wrong, Russia, they will still roll with it. Like this was disproven, in 2017, 2018? And they're still rolling with it. Like if you say anything pro-Trump, well, you might as well be a spokesperson for Vladimir Putin. It's dude. Like this has been disproven so many times.
All of their stuff on Twitter during the campaign. If you go on the Kamala headquarters, it was all like leaving LeBron James. They're posting all this like distorted fake news stuff. It wasn't even factual. It was just all like fake like propaganda.
Well, because there's no real story. They make it up. But if you say it enough, and if enough people say it, it lends credence to it.
Yeah, well, that's with anything. I think the good news though is along with the massive win we had on Tuesday, we also had the death of the legacy media. And that was one of the greatest wins for this freaking country. So I think Matt Gaetz and this administration will definitely have their work set out for them. But already, think about the faith that has been lost in the mainstream media from the American people.
Yeah, that's what I said a couple of months ago. This election is not just going to determine the future president, but also the future media landscape of this country. And overwhelmingly, the independent media, the podcasters, the people who literally are in their basements have obliterated a multi-billion-dollar marketing PR agency for the establishment that is reeling right now, losing subscribers, losing viewership. You look at the changes that are being made at CNN right now. Look at their top anchors that are about to be fired. Look at Chris Wallace. Look at MSNBC that, according to some sources, will be sold soon. These people are absolutely out of the job. They're still reeling. They're still pissed off. As of course, we had a perfect interaction with Thomas Macy and some of these reporters that weren't too happy about Matt Gaetz. And I think Thomas Macy had the perfect rebuttal here. Listen carefully because the audio is a little low, but I think it's absolutely beautiful to see.
He'll get confirmed by the Senate. He's the Attorney General. Suck it up.
If you didn't hear that, Thomas Macy said he's the Attorney General. Suck it up to the reporters that are walking up the escalator with him.
Speaking of legacy media, you know what really puts him under? RFK. So if RFK, we are one of two countries that allows pharmaceutical ads on television. If RFK disallows them from advertising on TV, 75% of MSNBC and CNN's ad revenue comes from Big Pharma. They will be under overnight because right now it doesn't really matter the viewership. It doesn't matter at all because they're ad driven. They are an ad driven business. So if you take away 75% of their revenue, they're done.
Wow, that's a great point.
Yeah, it is the only point, and that's why we need to protect RFK at all costs.
For sure.
You see what Boeing did? They're just whacking people left and right. They're like the mafia. Pfizer, you do not think a multi-trillion-dollar corporation at risk of losing trillions of dollars won't stoop to the lowest levels to get rid of RFK? We need to protect that man at all costs.
We got to protect him. I'm super excited for the announcement. He's the one person who hasn't been announced yet.
We'll talk about the future announcements because I kind of want to ask you guys, where do you want to see the future appointments go for Donald Trump? But another person that's not really happy with Matt Gaetz is, of course, Chase Oliver, as even the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire answered by saying that Matt Gaetz is one of the most libertarian members of Congress. And he absolutely is. So it's very interesting to see Chase Oliver not too happy about this particular appointment, as of course there still needs to be Senate hearings and Senate approvals of a lot of these appointments. Will he get approved? Well, Tim Pool, who's also a friend of this broadcast and a friend of mine, said that any Republican who, quote, obstructs or blocks Matt Gaetz' confirmation will receive full political force I can muster up to make sure you lose your next primary. So I think this is definitely the type of energy we need going into all of this. And it's going to be tricky because Matt didn't make a lot of friends in Congress. He didn't make a lot of friends in the Senate. He definitely ruffled a lot of feathers. Now the question is, will they confirm him? That's something that I'm curious about.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys agree, but I've been following all of these announcements, and I think Matt Gaetz was the most controversial on social media so far. I mean, people are just freaking out.
Well, I did see that because of some of the allegations in the past, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, how many of the allegations are true? At the end of the day, he's brash. He says what he feels. That's what we need. You know, it's okay for the Democrats. It's okay for them to bring someone in like Garland who just goes after political opponents.
Eric Swalwell and the Fang frickin'
even
controversy. How is he? Nancy Pelosi and all of her insider trading. That's okay? And
Bro, he
seriously.
was stooping a Chinese spy. Stooping, that's a Jewish thing, by the way.
That's a new one.
You
Never
get
heard
your
that.
you don't know stooping?
No.
You're in New York and you don't know stooping? Like, okay, never mind. That's a. You guys know
Robbie knows snooping.
Do you know stooping?
I know it very well.
Yes.
I only recommend doing it with someone that you really love, though.
Usually after you stoop, you schwitz. It's one of those things, man. Yeah.
Sometimes the two come together. Anyway, Tulsi Gabbard, another great choice as the Director of National Intelligence.
Yeah.
A very good position for her. I'm very happy to see her in this future administration as well. I'm super excited about her because of her record. A lot of kind of Trump supporters were saying, "Hey, she just became a Republican," and I'm like, she's still a lot better than a lot of the other kind of neocons, a lot of the other kind of establishment type picks, and the type of stuff that she did in Syria, specifically stopping that war from escalating and expanding, was absolutely critically important for the future of this country. So her having a seat at the table and being able to, of course, help defuse a lot of these very complicated international foreign policy situations, I'm very pleased about, and I'm very happy that she's going to be there because I think she's going to be the voice of reason inside of an administration that is picking people from, both sides of the kind of political spectrum within the Republican Party, the establishment and the anti-establishment. Donald Trump likes to have people debate, likes to have people argue with each other. So this is going to be a very interesting administration where I think a lot of the people here will be at odds with each other, but they'll be able to at least argue and have that conversation. Something that I think is critically important for any administration moving forward, being able to, of course, kind of reflect, question yourself, and not just kind of move full steam ahead in any direction. So
Tulsi's, I think we're all pretty excited about her being an ex-Democrat, switching over to jump in the Trump administration. I think even with me, I voted for Obama in 2008. I was brainwashed by the propaganda, and now I am free thinker voting for Trump. And I think there's many of us, including herself. She served in the military, and she just has a very genuine vibe about her.
Yeah, I think that this is my favorite pick by far as a female because it actually encourages the other young females out there that yes, females can be badasses and fighters and leaders and do a great job, but based on merit. We're bringing merit back to the White House as well. This was not a DEI hire. And look, you had a party that took the most wedge dividing issue in the country and tried to make it the centerpiece of their campaign and tried to tell females they had to vote for a female candidate based on gender and based on a single issue. So to have someone that is that gender, that is a female, be elected for the right reasons or be appointed for the right reasons, I think is so powerful.
I'm old enough to remember when we were like, why don't they work together? Why don't they reach across the aisle? People are like, well, she's a former Democrat. Exactly.
It's great.
We have an administration now that has reached across the aisle. You have Tulsi and RFK. Tulsi, who was the sweetheart of the Democrat Party, the one who knocked Kamala out of the last primary that she didn't even get one delegate for, right? And RFK, a literal Kennedy. Okay, this should be the administration that unites America, but unfortunately the left has gone so far to the left that RFK is like, yo, y'all got too left for me. He's a Kennedy.
Well, just like he says, right? I did not leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat
left
Party left me.
And I sit there with the same sentiment. I'm sure you do too.
Well, they railroaded him. They wouldn't let him debate. They took him off the ballot. He came over, and I think a lot of people came over. I was interviewing people in New York City before I came here, and people were like, yeah, Kamala's a woman. Like, I was like, why do you like her? She's a woman. I'm like, dude, Tulsi Gabbard's a woman. She's actually she's genuine.
And she's hot.
Yeah, and she Kamala's like a fraud. She can't do anything on her own. She can't be left alone to answer questions. Mm-hmm. She has this whole everyone directing her. We don't need another puppet. We want someone who has a soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that goes back to Matt Gaetz, right? All the corruption aside, we were talking Nancy Pelosi and Eric Swalwell and all those disastrous folks. America elected Donald Trump, and we all know this, because of his authenticity. That was one huge factor. So every single fighter that he's bringing into the White House, I think the American people will be ecstatic to know that they're also authentic, not puppets, and not your classic politicians. We want the opposite of that.
Yeah, you judge people based on their record and their merit.
Yep.
And that's why the next appointment I was a little concerned about, and that, of course, was Marco Rubio being put in as the Secretary of State. As, of course, I'm a little bit allergic to this for many particular reasons. If you look at the neocons, they have been a thorn in the Republican political party for way too long. If you look at a lot of the political realignment, it has happened specifically with the neocons that in some instances were even rallying behind Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump in 2016. So seeing these types of individuals within the White House, seeing these individuals, knowing them for who they are, knowing that they have the knives out, it makes me kind of worry about Donald Trump and his kind of future here. But again, it looks like a very mixed bag. And I think there's a reason why Donald Trump announced Marco Rubio first and then quickly said, hey, we got Tulsi in here. Hey, we got Matt Gaetz in here. And then kind of stopped a lot of the kind of, I don't know about this. I don't know how I feel about this. That's just my own particular kind of original instincts to this. What do you guys think?
There has to be a reason. Like, there has to be a reason. Maybe he negotiated with him. Maybe there was some give and take. But I'm not as concerned with Marco Rubio because when he first started out, he was kind of like the other guy. Like, he was pretty based. And over the last few years became kind of wishy-washy, a little more neoconish.
Yeah.
But I'm actually bullish about this appointment. I'm not happy with it, but I'm also not mad.
I feel the same.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't hate Marco Rubio. I was looking more at someone like a Rick Grinnell for that position.
Yeah.
But I think Marco Rubio walks into a room and he demands respect, and foreign leaders will be intimidated by him. And that's all I ask.
Well, one thing I know about a lot of these kind of like neocons and a lot of the more establishment type politicians, they're usually more establishment because they usually have compromise on them. Mm-hmm. And when you put people who have a lot of compromise on them in positions of power, I question how they're going to be acting here. But now with Tulsi Gabbard at DNI, I'm a little bit more okay with that situation than I was beforehand. Being Libertarian actually laid out an argument for Marco Rubio that I thought was pretty interesting, as of course they describe how Rubio essentially is like a John Bolton like in there who represents a crazy lunatic that when arguing with hostile nations could be an advantage to Donald Trump to highlight his larger kind of unpredictable larger moves that he could be making when he's negotiating with countries like North Korea, China, and Russia. So there is that factor as well as even the libertarian accounts are like saying, hey, I'm not too happy about this, but this could have been a strategic move by Donald Trump to have more leverage in negotiations with a lot of these countries, as of course Donald Trump has always kind of argued that you have to rule with a stick as well. So is that the case there?
I'm not sold on that.
4D chess. It's 4D chess.
I'm not super happy about it, but I'm also open-minded and I can be swayed. I mean, when I saw the Alex Jones confronting him, he's like a little gangster thug. I don't know if you guys saw that video.
Oh yeah.
This was in 2016.
Yes. But I just, I was more into the America First and like the non-politicians, and I was more into like the whole Tulsi, RFK, Vivek, the Avengers more than I'm into the career politicians like Rubio. That's all. But I mean, hopefully he does well.
But we're getting them too. Like we're getting them,
and that's a good point.
in
I
a
think we've always had neocons, and this is the first time we've ever had a mixture, right? And hopefully we can just keep evolving, where we get rid of all of them.
Well, that's why I brought someone up like Rick Grinnell, though. I don't view him as a neocon, and I think that, I mean, I know that he was being considered, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, from the scuttlebutt that I heard, it was supposed to be his position.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised it's not. And Rick Grinnell did a very important job bringing Trump essentially to the Libertarian political party.
Huge.
So Rick Grinnell, working behind the scenes, was doing a lot of really important things for the Trump administration that brought him more towards a more kind of Make America First populist kind of campaign and perspective. And I was really hoping he would get the position over Marco Rubio. I was expecting him to get the position with everything that I've heard with the kind of scuttlebutt of what was going around here. But Marco Rubio does have a lot of establishment ties, and he does have a lot of ties to a lot of big backers. And, with the way that politics works, you bring in the big backers, you got to, you give a favor, you get a favor returned to you. And I think that could be more of a kind of situation here.
Maybe it's for the future, right? Maybe it's 2028. Maybe he's setting up some kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
But look, Trump knows he has a mandate. He has the House and the Senate. There's got to be a reason for it. So I'm looking at it optimistically. And again, surrounded by Tulsi and all the other people in there,
Right.
I'm not mad at it. People were throwing a fit this morning.
Look,
People were going
I'm
nuts.
happy about Doge. I mean, look, they created Doge
Yes.
with Vivek and Elon. I'm looking them to take down and minimize the government. I think we need less government.
Doge has a Twitter account already. Did you guys see that?
Yeah,
Yes.
I followed it
And
immediately. And the logo's pretty funny.
And if
too.
you're in crypto,
logo is dope.
it's Doge is ripping all the little mini Doges. It's pretty.
You didn't
pretty
tell
crazy.
me this one. What should I buy right now?
Write it down.
I'd wait for a dip on Doge. It's pretty ripped right now.
Okay.
No, but this is definitely very exciting times. It definitely looks like this kind of administration is listening to the people online. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm online being like, I want Tulsi, I want Kash Patel, I'm constantly going on there and trying to build up the fervor for a lot of these Make America First people, for a lot of these populists, for a lot of these individuals that I know are actually good people that should be in these positions of power. So I wanted to ask all of you guys, what other future appointments do you hope Donald Trump makes, and who else do you hope he appoints?
I thought Tucker Carlson would have been good as press secretary with Alex Jones and having like a rotating thing. It'd been kind of cool.
I would love Tucker to be part of the administration. I think he already said that he won't be. But, I mean, you have to imagine he'll still be involved as an advisor, maybe not directly in the White House. But he's way too part of this movement to just completely go away.
Tucker does more good doing what he does.
Yeah.
You got to keep Tucker doing his thing, kind of in the outside, influencing. Like, he's very influential.
For sure.
He's very important to the party. He's very important to the movement.
Yeah.
I would keep him there. But I echo what you guys said. Look, man, I'm a big RFK guy. Make America healthy again.
Huge.
That's what I'm all about.
I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with that.
With health, everything funnels down. You get people healthier, more productivity. You have better mental health. You have everything gets better.
More
So-
babies.
Yeah,
If Trump can
more
keep,
babies.
I'm going to let Bobby run wild. He said that when he accepted at the inauguration. I think it's inauguration. He
liquid
said that on the
gold.
election night.
Liquid gold.
Just stay away from the liquid gold. We're going to let him run wild. I want him to run wild. I want him to take the fluoride out of the water. I want to take away all the poisons in our food for the children.
And corral big pharma. That's what we need to do. If you look at what's going on in this country, it's scary. Like, testosterone is what I look at measuring society. You can see a direct correlation with the bad things that happen. The average 70-year-old in the 70s and 80s had the same testosterone level as a 20-year-old male now.
Yeah. RFK talks about
That
this.
is nuts.
Yeah.
And we need to get to the bottom. Look, man, I'm not going to say it's microplastics, this, that, the third. If you actually look at the correlation lines, it's obesity. America's too damn fat, too damn lazy, and RFK is just the guy to get in there, and he doesn't care, and he will get in there and he will help fix this. It's going to take longer than 4 years, but we can see measurable results in as little as 8 weeks.
And even RFK Jr. says all the time that we can't also just blame Americans, right? First of all, how many times I talk to my mom about this all the time, and she's like, I ate that when I was younger. I'm like, no, you didn't.
It's not the same thing?
It's not the same.
We got to give them choices.
Yeah. And he says, RFK says all the time that what we have right now to work with as far as pharmaceuticals, as far as overprescribing these drugs to young kids, the birth control pill that's given like it's candy. And then on top of that, our food supply, our water, and all of that, completely different than what we were dealing with back then.
And also recalling some of the regulations when it comes to healing people and helping people is going to be huge because, America is a very kind of medically advanced country, but when you look at our larger institutions, they're very backwards. If you unleash the American potential, especially when you get rid of the fluoride from the drinking water, which RFK Jr. said he would, you not only increase, America's IQ, which is going to make a significant difference, but also at the same time, you're able to unleash a lot of entrepreneurial, independent businesses that will fix people's health problems without any government standing in their way. That's huge right there, because our RFK Jr. is also talking about doing more studies regarding stem cells, peptides, all the stuff that all the Americans and tech bros go to Mexico for, that I go to Mexico for, will be now finally allowed here in the United States without any of the ridiculous regulations stopping it from actually helping people live their fullest, healthiest, most amazing lives. And that right there is something to be very excited about.
And we can now have those conversations on a platform like X without getting censored and all of that. So that's huge. I don't know if you guys saw on the Maha Coalition website, you're actually able to nominate someone that you think would be good to work under RFKJ. And I have, a list of all of these naturopathic and holistic folks that I think,
IFBB pros.
Yeah, I don't know if they're looking for a job in the admin.
I think Mark should be doing a workshop for men.
Already
to
nominated
promote
you.
masculinity. You seem like you'd be perfect for that, Mark.
Well, I like how they're dunking on RFK, right? First of all, have you seen the current person in charge of health in this country?
A little scary.
Obese. I'm not even going to mention anything else. Just obese. Obese. I'm not going to say that word.
YouTube can't say
it.
it.
Says right here I can't say it. But obese. Okay. RFK is 70 years old. He's on the beach in jeans, shirtless, incline bench pressing. That is the man I want in charge of this country's health. Period. I'm really excited. That is what excites me the most. Everybody else, you're looking at Tulsi. Look, man, let RFK loose. Let's get America healthy. Everything else will trickle down from that. Look at male voting patterns. Yeah. Men with low testosterone tend to vote Democrat. Men with high testosterone tend to vote Republican. If we can fix testosterone levels, the Democrats will never win.
The first thing RFK Jr. is going to do is say, hey, you could now have testosterone. You could now inject testosterone with probably some regulations, but he's going to release the floodgates on that.
I was ahead of my time in injecting testosterone. So
honestly, please
make
the men masculine again. Us women are dying
mandatory testosterone injections for all guys.
I'm not kidding. So here's the thing. Just based on the data we have, if you gave TRT to all men, we would be a largely conservative country.
So we need more of that in New York and LA. And then we can, disperse the rest.
Now, RFK Jr. is going to put testosterone in the drinking water.
That's what we need to replace fluoride with. Just sprinkle it with some D-ball.
Well, the people have been docile for so long. Your pineal gland is calcified from the fluoride they were using in Nazi Germany in the concentration camps. They were using fluoride.
I literally before we moved in our house, I put in one of those reverse osmosis. Cost me $2,000.
It should not be in our drinking. There's a skull and crossbones on the fluoride. Why is it in our water?
We have a reverse osmosis remineralized water filter here as well.
My kids don't even know what fluoride tastes like in water, and that's why my kids crush it. Like if you look at genetically speaking, my kids are doing better than most kids, stronger, faster, better grades. And the reason is we never expose them to these environmental things. We put their food in steel containers. We do a bunch of different things. But the average person just I'm in that world. So my kids were raised with that. And people always ask me online, what's your secret? I'm like, well, you just raise them healthy. You teach them values and the
secret is actually, the simple life. We have to live like our ancestors. When we were talking before about Botox and all the things all that the ladies are doing now, I was at an event actually down in Palm Beach last week. It was an RFK Jr. fundraiser, right? I was the youngest person in the room. All of the females, Palm Beach, socialites were coming up to me. what foundation is that? What skincare? I'm like, I don't have any makeup on. I don't use skincare products.
And dudes
but I
like
almost,
that better, really.
Oh yeah. Well, that aside, I almost felt like I had to make up this like 10-step
Beef
skincare
tallow.
routine. I put that all over my face every night. My boyfriend's like, "What does that
What
smell?"
do you put on your face?
Beef tallow
Really, that's the thing.
every night. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did that for a while too. It's really good. A lot better than all the other like hazardous
All the
chemicals
poison.
that
Yeah.
people label as put themselves through. We got some super chats, and I think we also got some breaking news. It looks like Kash Patel is going to be the FBI director, and if that's
LFG.
Oh my
true,
God.
Mario Nafal is talking about it right now. But if that's true. Hell yeah!
Let's go.
That's another incredible move. Again, I'm biased because I know
waiting.
Kash.
Oh, this is great.
Kash is a great guy. He's an awesome person. He's great to have conversations with. He doesn't pander. He doesn't bullcrap you. I've been able to have real, legitimate conversations about like deep down the rabbit hole issues with him, and he doesn't hide away from any kind of controversy. He's the real deal. And if he's the new FBI director, another major, amazing appointment that I would be absolutely thrilled about.
Now, are you okay with the Rubio thing? Like, we're winning.
No,
like
I'm
6
still not
out of
okay
7.
with Rubio. I'm never gonna be okay with Rubio.
Give Rubio a chance.
No. I'm willing to say maybe there's some strategy here. I'm willing to say, let's see how this whole administration looks like. But you can't convince me of someone with a bad past.
Okay,
So
but
until they start actually acting in a positive direction and making some positive changes, if I see him literally do some really good things, I will of course compliment him and say he's doing a good job.
you're saying
But if
there's
he's
a
doing a
chance.
bad job, I'm going to say he's doing a really bad job, and I'm going to call him out like I call everybody out.
As
Yep.
we should.
Stuff. We got some super chats. Let's read them off really quick.
We Are Change says, I have read 10 plus David Icke books. He is warning that Trump is not the answer and he will not solve anything. Trump has his bosses and marching orders. Trump and Harris both support Israel. Only Icke and the last Amur vagabond point this out. Jonathan Brown.
Listen, Tulsi Gabbard, Matt Gaetz, Kash Patel, all incredible, RFK Jr., all incredible human beings, and having them in major positions of power, major white pill. We'll see what Trump does, but so far I think he's doing incredibly well, and I think he is truly going to implement a lot of major changes in our society for the positive. So I'm not black-pilled, and I'm not going to be negative Nancy now. If there are bad things that do result from it, we will call it out, but so far, amazing moves, and I have a lot of trust in these people. I know these people personally, and I think they're going to do a great job.
So because these people like Israel, all of a sudden they all suck. Like Trump's not going to do anything because he likes Israel. Is that really the argument we always go back to now? It's like the Jews are controlling everything. Like I'm in the every Thursday meetings. It's tomorrow at 3 p.m. That's when we meet. But like, dude, Israel's not that big of a deal. The main thing we can do with Israel is figure out how to end that ish right now and worry about ourselves. Okay, if there's ever a time to be isolationist, we're $35 trillion in debt. Like it's always my Israel. It's like, dude, focus on something else.
I think it is a huge deal for some families, of course, on how they voted. But who's a better? Kamala Harris was a better pick.
Exactly.
That's what I don't.
Yeah, we got to
understand.
manifest a positive outcome. I mean, we were here on election night and we were like, let's manifest. Let's not think about they're going to steal the election. Let's manifest the outcome we want. Let's think positive. Let's not do things we can't control. Let's manifest a positive outcome and move forward.
The Israel
It's
thing is
so
always
real.
the thing, man. It's just like, that's the only thing he brought up. He's like, he's not going to be a good leader. Israel. It's anything else? Anything about the surge in the optimism of consumers? Anything about Bitcoin, the stocks going through the roof? Anything about Tulsi, RFK? No, it's, Israel. It's like, dude, shut up. Come on. I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk to your super chatters like that. But let's look beyond Israel for 1 minute here. My apologies. Respectfully, shut up.
All right, we have some other super chats. We have Scrotus Magotis saying, Luke, for the love of God, lobby Matt to push for Brandon Herrera as demolisher of ATF.
Yep, that's one of the Atlas is super excited about that too. As of course, earlier today I tweeted that we need to get Brandon Herrera to be the head of the ATF, and him there would reinstore my faith in government, which I never thought I would say because I don't like government. But Brandon Herrera, I think he would be a perfect pick. And if you agree, retweet this and get this out there to the general public. I just messaged Brandon and I'm like, dude, let's get you on all the shows. right now. Come to Brandon, you're listening to me right now. Come to Miami. We'll get you on all the shows here, and let's do a whole big PR pitch about making you the new head of the ATF, because I would absolutely love to see that. And I don't see anyone in this kind of larger field. He's not just a YouTuber. He has dealt with the ATF on a tremendous level. He is in touch with everything that they are doing and affected by it tremendously. And having him at the head of that organization would be just a dream come true, personally.
We have another one here from Uncommon News 777 saying the CIA's existence violates Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7 of the U.S. Constitution, which requires a public accounting of the receipts and expenditures of public money. State AGs should challenge them.
Huh. I've never heard about that one. I don't know if you guys did personally yourself, but we'll see. What particularly happens? How will it unfold? Brandon Herrera has my particular vote for head of the ATF. We're still waiting for a lot of other people to, of course, be a part of this administration. Kash Patel, again, news coming in right now, appointed the head of the FBI. The source is the AF, and we're still waiting for Donald Trump to, of course, officially kind of announce it. I haven't seen Trump officially announce it so far. But we're seeing a lot of people talk about this specifically, and it's a major deal. It's a big deal that will absolutely change the face of the FBI. I'm all in for this, as of course this signals a larger change to the intelligence community that for the last few years have been acting with total impunity. They were able to do whatever they wanted to do. They were able to manipulate social media. They were able to lie to the American public. They were able to go after politically. And now I think finally we're going to have some kind of justice around this with Kash Patel in there. What do you guys think?
I think liberals are crying so loud right now. We might be able to hear it with our headphones on.
Oh no, you could just go on TikTok and you could see them all. It's,
shaving their heads.
It's gorgeous. The things they're doing. They were wearing that ring. Did you see the ring one?
No.
There was some ring they were wearing. They were doing the abstinence thing, which is great. That cures the abortion
A win
issue.
is a win.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to worry about abortion if they're not having, but they can't control themselves. They can't even wear a condom. You think they're really going to not have sex? Like, they can't even figure out birth control. No, I think this is all great, and I agree with you 100%. Like, the meltdowns, you thought they were cool in 2016. I knew they'd be epic, but you can literally do probably a 24-hour show of just liberal meltdowns.
Oh, we
That's
should.
it.
We should.
It's crazy that they're like cheering for like establishment, like pro-war candidate, like people to be in charge. It's like weird. I was looking online on the way here, and I was like, this is amazing. I'm like, I've never been so excited in my life when I see the Tulsi and the Matt Gaetz, and you see the Vivek and Elon. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, what these guys are like gonna cry and kill themselves. I'm like, you guys are. I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid they've been drinking, but they've been brainwashed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm outnumbered here, so I will speak to the females out there and just tell you guys that no man is going to lose sleep over not being able to have sex with you. Not one man. But I actually do. I feel bad for some of these females because when you actually look at what the mainstream media has been putting out there over the past 3.5 years, it's kind of psychological abuse when you break it down. Some of these females really believe to their core that our rights as women are going to be stripped away from us the minute Trump sets foot in that White House. That somehow this man really is the next Hitler. They really do believe that because of what the mainstream media has been feeding them. So it really is almost some form of abuse, and that's why you see these meltdowns happening. Going back to what I said earlier with young people not having coping mechanisms and having no way to deal with their emotions, the shaved head and Britney Spears moments is what we're seeing.
Yeah, we'll talk about the mental health crisis in this country on the next segment, because it's an issue that YouTube doesn't really like people talking about. But according to NBC News, a lot of people in Washington, D.C. are freaking out because of these particular appointments. I haven't seen this particular clip, but let's play it.
Well, Julie, let's talk about some of the picks that you just ran through. Matt Gaetz, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth. Do you think that they are confirmable at this point? What's the buzz on the Hill right now?
Well, I mean, I hope you don't forgive me for saying this, Kristen, but the general vibe on the Hill right now is WTF. People are shocked at the news of Gaetz, especially. I feel like I couldn't even get around to getting reaction on Tulsi Gabbard when this pic of Gaetz came down the pike. Senators, Republican lawmakers even, one of them in a closed-door meeting said, oh my God, when they saw the post from Donald Trump.
Yes, absolutely. Hell, that gave me goosebumps
Yeah.
right
Amazing.
there. I love seeing that.
I like how she said WTF. Like, this is the best you can do as a professional news. It sounds like a pot. Like, what is this?
Yeah, she can't even get reactions because people are so freaked out. I love it. I love every
They're like,
second of this.
WTF.
This is a moment that we've been waiting for so long, and it is beautiful to see. Let's continue on with this clip.
Several senators, I just ran into Lindsey Graham, for example, who kind of brushed me off and said he didn't speak to Trump yet.
Yes, he's off to the bathhouse. He's pissed off. Lindsey Graham.
We'll see, he said, if Gaetz is confirmable, if he's a good pick. Chuck Grassley, who's going to be the top Republican on the Judiciary Committee, working very closely with the next Attorney General. He really didn't have anything to say. He stood there for 30 seconds just completely baffled when reporters told him about this.
Yes, please, more.
Others like Collins, Murkowski, those who are seen to deflect from whatever Trump tries to do, their press handlers basically pushing us aside. And it is because look at who Gaetz is. He's currently under investigation by the House Ethics Committee.
He's one of the best members of Congress we ever had.
For some of these personal misgivings that he's been a part of, some of the things that the federal government has investigated him on and later dropped charges on.
Yeah, I wonder why they dropped the charges.
He's still very much being investigated by that House committee, bipartisan sentiment across the aisle is they really can't believe that Gaetz is the one who ended up with this top job. And the question of if he's confirmable, well, you talk about all these picks. This really is the biggest test between Senate Republicans and Trump, and a test of their allyship to him, too.
It sure
I love it.
is.
I love how they use being investigated as like a hit. Like, being investigated doesn't mean being convicted. It's like, well, he's being convicted. Okay, what was he convicted of?
No, I think it's kind of a flex now.
It is being I mean, Trump's a convicted felon, apparently.
I think it's a sign that if you're not corrupt, this is probably a good sign that he's not corrupt. Because usually, if you can be corrupted, they'd probably be cheering for you.
No, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think this is the best thing ever. And you'd expect if Trump did the right thing that there'd be pushback from, the swamp.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing right here. And it's awesome to see. It's like Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, like
the worst.
that's how we
We
should measure it. The more pushback from the swamp, this is a better pick.
This means that he is the guy.
Yeah.
And that's
Like,
why we
he's
talked
a-
about earlier is like I'm happy that they got away with that he didn't win 2020 because now we're in a much better position now for this administration than we would have been 2020.
He's got 4 years. That's it. Just 4
But
years.
he's going to set up for 2028. Whether it's JD Vance or RFK or Tulsi, we're going to have some good candidates moving forward, pushing this forward in a positive direction.
And I think we're forgetting about the main appointment. That's Vance. I mean, a lot of people were very skeptical of JD Vance.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw his move. First, when he got nominated, I'm like, I'm going to watch that movie. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good dude, a good old Midwestern guy, right? The Midwesterner, like, overcame adversity, put himself through college, went to Yale. And then the Democrats who own higher education were dunking on him for going to Yale. That's when I knew we won. Because here's a guy who went to Yale, not because his dad went there, like the Bushes. No. He went to Yale because he worked his butt off.
Yeah, they tried that. Then they tried calling him weird. This was a man that spoke directly to that forgotten American out
The
there.
Midwesterner, which is the swing
Exactly.
states, by the way.
And exactly the folks that we needed to reach to win this election. This is a man that has a family. He has a wife who's also, I believe, Ivy League educated.
They went to Yale together.
That's right. And just the exact epitome of what you would want in an all-American family that has America First values, represents true masculinity, and again, spoke directly to that forgotten American.
I didn't like him until I saw the debate, and then I got to know him a little better. And I was like, "Well, this dude's pretty relatable. He's pretty cool." There were other people I wanted to be the VP,
Same,
but then
yeah.
I was like, "Well, I like this dude." Did you know if he was in Skull and Bones and Yale?
I'm not sure.
That's a good question to ask. I don't think he was, but we'll find out. We'll look into it. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Now, the question is, where does Richard Grinnell go? That's what I want to know. Where do you kind of position him? Is there even a position for him? That's something that I want to know. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I know from sources how badly he wanted Secretary of State.
Well, the New York Times was already writing op-ed pieces saying that he will destroy the intelligence community, which made me want him in that position of power more
If they're against
than anyone else.
100%.
Exactly. That's the larger kind of hallmarker here. Is what is the corporate media freaking out about? Because the corporate media is in control by the intelligence agencies that pull their strings. So having them freaked out about Richard Grenell really made me want to see him in a position of power over the intelligence community, but we didn't see that. RFK Jr. still not officially designated a position, still waiting for him to be potentially in the cabinet here.
There's the hit piece.
So I'm excited. Bloomberg opinion piece saying RFK Jr. is too dangerous for government. No, I think he's perfect for government because of
too good.
Bloomberg's opinion piece on him.
He's too good.
So.
He wants to make America healthy. They hate that.
Yeah.
Because the more docile and fat society is, the more unhealthy and sick we are, and the more they control us.
And the more money they make.
Just like we
too.
saw in 2020, right? Like the reason we had it like we did is because people were unhealthy. People were vulnerable.
And weak.
Yes, exactly. Their immune systems were weak. Everything was weak about America, and that's why it happened the way it did.
I mean, I hope he announces it tomorrow. I want Bobby to run wild. That was the biggest thing I would tell liberals on the street. I'm like, they're like, why do you like Trump? And I'm like, look, all politicians have sucked my whole life. I was like, look, even if we just take out the 1,000 ingredients that are in the food in Europe that are banned there, that are banned here, that are banned in Europe, we take them out here. Just that alone is enough for me. Just that alone. If that's one thing that gets done, I'd be happy with that accomplishment. Just that alone. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. And I was like, that's why you got to vote for Trump. Why you voting for Kamala? She's pro-war. She's pro-censorship. She's bought and paid for by Big Pharma. I was like, this is not the right pick. I was trying to convince people on the street. And I was like, Bobby is a guy who wants to help make America healthy again.
Yeah.
Well, another important factor is going to be the House and the Senate, as of course we had a very interesting article from The Hill earlier today talking about how some conservatives were plotting to challenge Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House, as it looks like we got breaking news from the Associated Press that Mike Johnson won the GOP nomination to stay as the House Speaker. All of this is there was also some very interesting secret voting, specifically when it comes to the Senate Majority Leader, which is now Republican John Thune, who previously asked Donald Trump to step down and have Mike Pence replace him immediately. That, of course, never happened here. A lot of people within the populist Make America First movement aren't happy with this kind of Senate confirmation with these secret votes here. But what do you make of the future of the House and Senate here that will, of course, be now deciding and voting on a lot of these key cabinet kind of positions?
This dude does not seem like a good, this Thune guy. I don't know much about him. I get a really bad vibe about him. And I don't like how these people are voting for him. They need to be investigated if it's up to me, too. I don't trust these people.
Well, J.D. Vance was anti-Trump at one point. I hate to be the guy who looks at the bright side of things.
You like Thune?
But I'm not saying I like him. I'm saying that there could be a reason for it, right?
Yeah, but the people that are voting for him, they're not all MAGA. They're not all down with Trump's agenda.
So what I believe is going to happen is, since it was a popular mandate, that people are going to have to fall in line because they're not going to win their next election. They're just not. The populist movement has spoken, and they want this I'm not going to call it a regime, but this administration to put forth change. And so if he's standing in the way of it, that's the end of his political career. He'll go by the wayside. He'll go like all the Romneys and McCains, like they'll just fall to the wayside.
Well, I think Donald Trump has 2 years, right? I mean, come midterms, I think we can assume what will happen just naturally. I don't think we'll have majority here, but so we have really 2 years to make a huge difference. And I don't know much about this guy either. These tweets never age well, though. I think we can kind of dig up something on everyone. The internet lives forever. So I don't think we can judge, although it's quite funny. And be careful what you tweet, but they never age well. But I don't think we can judge. I agree with you. I mean, J.D. Vance also compared Trump to some not so good people. He made some comments back in the day, and people are allowed to change their minds, right? And Donald Trump is a controversial figure, and not everyone automatically likes his brash and boldness and the way that he interacts with people. They can come around to liking him once they get to know him. So that could be part of it.
I just don't know if these people can be trusted. I mean, we all make mistakes. We all evolve. I mean, it was cool that Vance came out and was like, yeah, I've changed my mind. I see him this way. It's good. We should all evolve. And I hope these people evolve too. But I just get a very weird vibe that, I don't know. I have to do the research. I don't know this dude. But when I see people like Elon going like, we want Rick Scott, I just would go with someone who seems to know more than me and be like, this person's Elon, I get a good vibe from. But I'm a vibe guy, so I don't know. You know,
there's very few people in DC. There's very few people in DC who can be trusted.
Yeah.
So you just got to take your risks.
Well, you know, this is the time where I think Trump has to bring people together. And I think one way he could do this is by making Hunter Biden the head of the DEA. And I think if he would do that, if there's anyone who, of course, would, set up very interesting policies for the future of America, it would be him, as Donald Trump met with Joe Biden today. And very interestingly, Joe Biden was smiling a lot, meeting with the future president of the United States. As a lot of people were saying, why is he smiling so much? Why is he so freaking happy? As a lot of people have different kind of theories about what was kind of happening here behind the scenes.
He's so MAGA.
Yeah, as
he voted for Trump.
His dementia's cured now too.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. The guy could barely walk in sand a few days ago. He still looks kind of dazed and confused. But again, from ear to ear, the smile there. Usually, you don't see this type of same body language with his wife, and of course Kamala Harris. As of course the two recently were seen together, not really showing the best positive body language. But here, the two presidents shared some words, but also had a very interesting private meeting afterwards that went longer than a lot of people expected it to go. Now, I wonder what they talked about here, as of course, there's a lot of memes right now of the two sitting there and then shaking hands and saying, bros before hoes. As of course, there are people who believe that Joe Biden played some kind of role when it came to helping Donald Trump win this presidency. Is that a conspiracy theory that goes too far, or is it credible? What do you guys think?
I think credible.
Yeah.
I think the two
100%.
happiest people from this election are Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden.
The Democratic Party railroaded Biden, they railroaded Kennedy, and they reap what they sow. I mean, the guy was wearing a MAGA hat. He was happy. I don't think he wanted to really not be run again. I mean, I think they took him out. They made him leave, and they gave it to a girl who wasn't voted in by the people.
Yeah, Biden. Look, man, he's a winner. Like, let's be honest. He worked his whole life, career politician, got to be the president. And then he gets booted out. Apparently his staff didn't even know. They found out on Twitter.
I was just going to bring that up.
They found out on Twitter. And so he's like, well, if I can't have it, I'm taking these fools down.
He's got to be pissed.
Jill wore a red dress to vote.
Pantsuit.
Whatever. I'm not good at that stuff. But I'm straight. So
no, either way. I mean,
she was wearing red.
Shot. She gets dressed in the morning, right? This is someone with numerous assistants and aides.
Yeah.
And I'm probably someone that picks her wardrobe for her, honestly. No way she got dressed in the morning like, yep, this looks fresh. I'm looking good. Didn't think twice.
No, that was a
deliberate.
sign.
Yeah.
Look, man, they and Jill wanted Joe to be there. Joe was behind that. So by her going in that red pantsuit, I think it stated a lot about where the Bidens stand. You could tell by his body language, he looks like it's one thing to look nice. He looks literally happy. Even in his little farewell speech, it was nice. This is, if he would have acted like this the whole tenure, it would have been a much better 4 years.
You know what I think is kind of hilarious? His farewell speech and then Kamala Harris conceding. They are better at losing than they are at governing. I thought that speech by Kamala Harris was actually one of her best speeches.
That's usually most Democrats and liberals, as of course the meeting between Trump and Biden went a little bit longer, as we had this Fox News report on it.
And breaking news right now, we did not know how the end of the meeting would look. This is live. This is outside the White House, where President-elect Donald Trump has just left the White House. That's his motorcade right there, after meeting for well over an hour and a half with President Biden. Now, remember, their comments on camera were very short last hour, and we've been playing that for you because this moment in history is huge. Those two men have gotten together. We know that there were expectations of a peaceful transfer. They both talked about that, a peaceful transition. This was the precursor to that, and they both acknowledged that's the goal, and they were, as Trump put it, it's a nice day in the world today. We also know that the First Lady, Jill Biden, handed a letter of purpose about peaceful transition. It's called a letter of readiness, and we have not learned exactly what's in that. So now Trump has left the White House and America. And
Yeah, I would love to know what they privately talked about. As of course, I think Hunter Biden came up, and I think there's going to be a chance that Donald Trump, when he becomes president of the United States, will actually try to potentially pardon Hunter Biden. Is that the right move to make here, or is it the wrong move to make here? What do you guys think?
I'm down. I think it's all right. I mean, I understand that the Democrats play to win and they're very dirty, but it's one of those, like, Biden did kind of ride with Trump at the end. It's I wouldn't have said this like 2 weeks ago, but right now I'm like, dude, the guy likes hookers and crack. let the man cook, man. Like, let him do his thing.
You know, one time I got to sit down with Donald Trump and I asked him at the end, just a fun question, would you rather have lunch with Hunter Biden or Joe Biden? And he said Hunter Biden. So maybe a quick pardon and then those two can grab some lunch.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Joe Biden, dude, it's never happened in history before that you were president and all of a sudden you couldn't run for re-election. He didn't want to leave. That's insane. They made him leave. How do you think? Why would he be cheering for Kamala to win? I think he's very happy about Trump winning.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the Hunter Biden stuff, look, I mean, that's been going on for ages where there people are pardoning people. I mean, I think it's just kind of like the Democrats and Republicans kind of work together behind closed doors and kind of help each other out and do favors for each other.
I'm down.
Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks had a very interesting kind of take earlier today that I thought was very interesting, as she kind of outlined the larger moves being made by Joe Biden that specifically sabotaged the DNC and set up Kamala to lose. This is her theory about what happened during the campaign.
You all to know about it, okay? So we found out over the weekend, thanks to Nancy Pelosi's interview with the New York Times on their podcast, The Daily, that the plan was to get Biden to, step down from the re-election bid. And then they were all planning an open primary. But Biden, 30 minutes after he dropped out of the race, decided to endorse Kamala Harris as a middle finger to the Democratic Party. The other thing to know about Joe Biden is that their internal polling before he dropped out of the race indicated that if he stayed in the race, Donald Trump was going to win even more electoral college votes than he won against Kamala Harris. But they didn't care. Okay, he remained in the race until it was, in my opinion, already incredibly late. And so he set up Kamala Harris for failure. He set up the Democratic Party for failure. But I also want to be clear that the Democratic Party specializes in failure. They're incompetent, they're pathetic, and they lied to the American people and thought that they would get away with it. The cover-up on Biden's mental decline was very much real, and the fact that the party overall felt the need to lie to the American people and their own base goes to show you how little respect they have for their own voters.
All right, wow, some rare truth on the Young Turks there, as she didn't hold anything back. She spoke pretty honestly there, and if what she is saying is true, Dark Brandon really came through for Donald Trump.
That was so based.
If the Democrats really wanted to win, they would have ran Michelle Obama. I think Rogan said it best. I mean, I really think that she probably would have won.
Well, according to Nancy Pelosi now in this New York Times op-ed, they wanted to do a primary, but it was Joe Biden that, of course, made sure that that didn't happen by officially saying, hey, here's Kamala. And that could explain why when he was sick, he released that kind of weird letter on Twitter with that weird signature, because he was trying to rush it through. Like, screw these guys. They screwed me. They're kicking me out. I don't want to be kicked out. Screw it. Put Kamala in there.
Do. Everything this party does is by design and completely manufactured. You're right. If they actually wanted to prop up a candidate that had a real chance of winning, Michelle Obama would have been.
Should have been tough. I'm glad they didn't do it. Thank God. I would have been so pissed if she would have won. And
I don't think Michelle wants to smoke, though. I don't think she could take the public scrutiny of herself as an individual.
I still don't think she would have won because of, again, the one thing that Americans have been longing for more than an America First agenda, and that is authenticity, like we mentioned earlier.
That's true.
Michelle Obama does not have that authentic
But they have the identity
factor.
politics they're going to do into the Obamas, and they've
but
won before.
When you're
Kamala was
standing
weak.
on stage
Kamala is a
like
throwaway.
that.
In my opinion, she's a throwaway candidate. I mean, I think
For sure.
they're getting ready to do Gavin Newsom. Maybe I hate that guy, by the way. The Joker.
Oh, they're bringing him in.
We all do.
100%.
Everybody hates Gavin
I
Newsom.
wish he wasn't hot.
He's the front. He's the front. Oh, you'd smash.
No, I didn't say that. Oh my God.
Is he the front?
He's definitely vaccinated. Come on. Don't do that to me.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. Is he the front runner? He is the front runner, right? Nazi Newsom. I call him Nazi Newsom. Are we on?
No, we're not.
I mean,
Sorry.
Shapiro, Newsom. I mean, these guys. I don't. There's rumors, of course, that Kamala Harris asked Shapiro to be VP, and he said no. I don't know if those are valid.
I think it's true.
Or true, but we know why, right? I mean, these people have a plan, and Newsom as well. They want to be the stars.
I agree.
And everybody, I think, even when they thought they can win with her, they knew like this is a long shot. Like she's so unlikable.
Yeah.
But what's going to be the future of the Democratic Party? I mean, they have some people that have the aesthetic of it, but we're still a long ways out, and it looks like they have a failure of just messaging. They have the corporate media, but the corporate media is dwindling. They're going away. All the people who still watch the corporate media, they're going to pass away because of how old they are. So their viewership is about to just be absolutely liquidated. With now Kash Patel being head of the FBI, Tulsi being head of the DNI, there's going to be a reining in of these intel agencies that used to control the social media algorithms that no longer will be able to control them. And I could foresee a future where the Democratic Party just becomes totally irrelevant. And I think we're going to have these two factions. And this is the kind of argument I made in my earlier video today, that the next kind of bigger political clash, I think, is going to be between the establishment faction and the anti-establishment faction of the Trump administration. I think that's going to be the major kind of bigger polarized kind of conflict as the Democrats become more and more irrelevant in our society and in our culture. So I think that's the landscape that we're going to be seeing soon, from my own kind of observations being in this for quite a while, because the messaging there is not there. Their bullhorns are being taken away. Their algorithm manipulation is no longer going to be there. So how else will they be able to galvanize people? I don't think they will.
Yeah, I think this was, put so poignantly by the young people that came out this election cycle. And I don't know if you guys have thought about this, but my generation, millennials, generation coming up behind me, Gen Zers, we grew up in an era where, everything's completely highly curated, right? This age of social media, the digital age, I can tell you in 2 seconds if something's photoshopped or edited. This young generation can tell in 2 seconds when someone is a complete manufactured persona, and they saw right through someone like Kamala Harris. And I think the Democrats underestimated that. They thought the young generation was just a given as far as automatic voters, and I think they really underestimated what we can do.
Yeah, the Democrats are in trouble, and I think even Barack Obama sees it himself. He was there on the campaign trail, and he was really resorting to some very desperate efforts trying to get people to vote for Kamala, as we have this article from the Daily Mail that talks about how Obama's biographer reveals that the ex-president is fearing for his legacy after tone-deaf preaching harmed Harris campaign. So this is a kind of major development here. As the Barack Obamas, they have a lot of influence in our society, but I think they just found out that their influence absolutely dwindled, was totally irrelevant, and some people argue even harmed Kamala Harris.
Well, I think the left went too far left. That's the thing. That how many, like you and I alone are just two people, right? And we both are like, well, we used to kind of be Democrats.
Yeah.
But they went too far left. And like RFK, I haven't changed. The Democrats left me. Mm-hmm. So I think you're at a point now where they almost have to regulate and become unwoke, but have they gone too far? For example, I think one of the main factors in voting for, let's take the black population, right? I think the whole female sport purity, getting around the YouTube guidelines, the purity of female sports, I think that is something that really, really made people look. That might not have been the
100%.
Deciding factor, but I think that it made people open their eyes and
Everyday
say,
normies, yeah.
what the heck is going on? Like,
Yeah.
you're in Washington State, and your daughter's running at a track meet and gets dusted, gets second place by like a whole lap to a non-female person. Is that good?
Yeah, Bill O'Reilly recently said that this election, in his opinion, came down to milk, eggs, and gas, right? But I slightly disagree. I think there was also these just crazy ideas, these radical ideas that the left was pushing, that everyday normal people that maybe have voted Democrat their whole life were like, wait a minute, I can't get can't get on board with this. What's happened? And I think that was a pretty big factor.
I think it was a huge factor. I think a lot of people wouldn't even voted. They were personally impacted by it.
No, going back to Barack Obama, though, I don't know if you guys saw, they were saying Oprah was paid, all of these people were paid millions of dollars. Oprah denied this yesterday.
And Beyonce didn't even perform and she was paid $10 million.
Yeah, such a joke.
Man, I wish I'd get on to
but
that.
I think this depicts exactly what we're talking about, right? Oprah needed to be paid to make an appearance to support Kamala Harris.
She's a billionaire too.
Do you guys think Obama paid her? No. She believed in him. It was so apparent how much she believed in Obama. The fact that they had to pay her, pay people like Beyonce to come support a candidate, I think just, again, so poignantly explains everything we're talking about right now. They didn't buy into this candidate one bit.
It's a fraudulent vibe. I mean, you don't have to be that smart to just feel very disingenuous vibe. Feel everything's just contrived. There's nothing authentic. We were just saying people want someone who's authentic, or you get that vibe from
You're all about the energy. I love
Trump.
it.
I'm an energy guy. I'm all about the energy. But I just, someone like me, I'm just like, dude, I'm telling people, I'm like, are these people NPCs? I'm going to people and I'm like, how could you even, I'm like blown away how they're supporting Kamala, how they're believing what they're told. And I'm just like trying to unprogram them. You can't do that. Some of these people are NPCs. They can't be saved, but I try my best to save them. Some of them
Come to New York. Do God's work for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, people want authenticity, and we're seeing that now. Where I think we're moving forward in the right direction. And going on your point about the biological men competing in women's sports, I mean, I think there's certain people who are like, yo, I used to be a Democrat, and I'm like, this has gone too far, dude. I want my daughter to be able to have a chance to win in a track meet. Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, I think you look at white female voters voted overwhelmingly for Trump. They actually voted for Trump. So it was majority Trump. And I think that's a big issue, even if it doesn't impact you locally. You're watching. Right now, San Jose State has a biological male on their volleyball team. They're about to win the national championship. They have no reason to win the national championship.
Can I bet on it?
They've had four. They've
there a
had
meme
four.
playing?
They've had 4 teams refuse to play them and just forfeit the games because these girls are like, if you volleyball, it's non-contact. Have you ever had a dude spike a volleyball at your face? Like, you've had girls in high school literally break noses, all this crazy stuff. So now you have normal people that are not even politically active. Like, what do we do to stop this? So what that made them do, that might not have been the issue, but it made them open their eyes and evaluate what they're voting for. And that's where, like, you know what? I don't like Trump. I don't like him. But will he put a stop to this madness?
Exactly.
Atlas isn't going to transition. She's a beautiful German Shepherd. And, she's not transitioning. She's doing great. So, I mean, I think people want to be more like a German Shepherd in their families.
Don't we all? The world would be such a better place.
It would be beautiful.
German Shepherd's smarter than most liberals, in my opinion. But there's a crazy story coming out of Seattle that is too spicy to talk about on this particular broadcast here, so we cannot talk about that. But referring to what I was just discussing, I think the biggest difference is definitely going to be made culturally through the algorithms. I think already we are seeing a little bit of YouTube loosening up. YouTube's very stringent, but I think we are seeing YouTube finally kind of open up their pathways to the right wing. I think we're seeing a lot of leftists lose a lot of their audience members, a lot of their subscribers, a lot of their paying members are just kind of dropping out after they realized that they're not just on the losing side, but they were kind of conned. They were lied to, and they're not really happy about that. Steph, you made a comment that was pretty interesting saying, I think there's something happening with YouTube. What have you been seeing?
That was it. It wasn't really that much to talk about.
Steph, your camera's not even on.
I know.
I saw
Turn on your camera.
Yeah, there was a, what's his name? Was it Kalinsky that was losing subscribers? I think Tim did a story on that. That's great. I mean, he should be losing subscribers. People should be coming over. We were censored for so long. I mean, without Elon Musk even buying Twitter, I don't even know if we'd be having this conversation. There's no access to free media. It's just propaganda. It's like, I don't want to become an NPC. I want to be free. I want to hang out with you guys, talk with you. I feel so great right now being in this situation. And I think we created the right reality, and I'm happy to share this with you guys.
I got shadow banned on YouTube for mentioning vitamin D in 2021. Literally.
That's what I'm saying.
Never forget.
Yeah, it was terrible.
We had Dr. Simon Goodek, who had his life ruined because he was literally putting out the study saying, hey, we could save everyone's life here if they just have the proper vitamin D levels. And they literally took away his bank account. They still haven't given back his money to him.
What?
So, Dr. Simon Goodek, he's going to be coming back here, and he's going to be on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week. So he's going to be staying here with us. So you'll be seeing a lot more of him. We did amazing, really fun videos with him for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. I usually do my walk and talk videos by myself. He joined me for a very fascinating conversation that you guys could see now if you guys are members of LukeUnfiltered.com. Also wanted to remind people, signing up, it's quick, it's easy, it's simple. LukeUnfiltered.com. The link is in the description. It's just $8 a month, 20 cents a day. Click right here, put in your information. You get emailed back a login, and you get a lot of really cool things like seed oil cards, crap list of items you should avoid at the supermarket, and of course the Telegram channel that I am in right now. As of course, if you want to call in, you could be a caller that we're going to be going to in a few minutes from now. Just let me know in the Telegram channel, all just by simply signing up to LukeUnfiltered.com. But yeah, what happened to Simon was just absolutely insane, and it definitely led him on a pathway to literally move to the middle of a jungle to Brazil to get away from all of the nonsense that he dealt with in Europe. Europe that is very censorious, that is way ahead of the game, especially when it comes to the globalists' playbook. As of course, we had the NATO chief military Rob Barr come out and actually attack Elon Musk and Donald Trump for allowing too much free speech. Yep, you heard that correctly.
Wow.
Here's the comments.
So in terms of disinformation and cyber attacks and all the things that are happening, influencing elections, I think it's a serious problem. And I think the use of social media is basically amplifying everything that is being done by bot factories, and I'm very much in favor of freedom of speech, but I'm not necessarily convinced that what Mr. Musk is doing on X is the right approach. I'm very much in favor of freedom of speech, but there is a lot of things on Twitter that is not helping our societies at all.
Yeah, that's not called freedom of speech, bozo. What a total dummy.
He sounds like Don Lemon.
Yeah, I support freedom of speech.
Goodness.
I support freedom of speech.
Did you see
But
Don?
not the speech that I don't agree with and don't like on Twitter, as Elon Musk responded to this by saying,
heck
make
yeah.
Orwell fiction again. Guys like this think 1984 is an instruction manual. Great response by Elon Musk here that really does highlight how a lot of central controllers, a lot of globalists, a lot of people a part of the military-industrial complex really aren't happy with free speech, even though they profess that they're behind it. Just like the Democrats, who say that they're very for democracy, but have to destroy democracy for democracy's sake. Again, what he said out here was a flat-out lie. I think Twitter has done an incredible job allowing people to speak freely, and I think he's really pissed off because he kind of understands what we understand, and that is, if it wasn't for Twitter, Donald Trump wouldn't be the president of the United States.
You're right.
By far.
That guy's a clown. That guy's just a clown. We need to get rid of people like that, trying to make people believe their agenda. We want free speech. We want. That's what America was founded on. We want to keep that going. I think Elon Musk is a crusader. And when he called out Don Lemon in that interview, and he's like, no, you want censorship. You got to play that later. Man, that's just such a great interview, man.
We already played it a couple days ago, so we're not going to play it twice. I don't like playing videos twice for my audience.
If Marco Rubio takes this guy out, will you be on his side?
What do you mean takes him out?
I can't say that on YouTube. Takes him out to dinner.
Like puts him on a date or something? Like, what are you talking about here?
I can't say. But
I think J.D. Vance's response to all of this
his was great.
the best, as he, of course, threatened to essentially pull out of NATO if Europe starts censoring companies like X. So I think that approach is a lot better than I think Rubio agrees with him. I think Rubio's secretly like, yeah, this guy's spitting over here. I like what he's saying as he's sipping on his little baby waters. Personally, this guy aligns more with the neoconservative branch that did rip up and destroy the Constitution and hates things like free speech that has allowed us to be in the position that we are in right now. So yeah, screw that guy. Personally, myself, as it's going to be interesting to see how everything kind of unfolds inside of Europe as everyone's kind of looking at that larger situation. There's a lot of things unfolding right now, specifically in the Donbass region. of Ukraine right now that will be a very difficult situation to deal with. As if I'm Donald Trump, I understand that I have a very difficult situation on my hand. The war in Ukraine right now is something that is extremely serious and involves many other countries like Iran, countries like North Korea, as the Russians are having a lot of success in the Donbass region and having a lot of military victories there. As right now, a ceasefire is something that they probably won't be doing anytime soon. I don't know about you guys, but this is going to be, I think, one of the biggest challenges of the Trump administration. How will he be able to stop this war is a question that I'm kind of asking myself, because it's not going to be easy. The Ukrainians do not want to give up any land, but there's no other kind of larger kind of pathway towards peace here other than Ukraine capitulating and saying, yeah, we'll give up some of our land, which sets up a very kind of dangerous precedent, saying officially that if you invade a country, you can keep the land afterwards, which China is probably going to be looking at and being very excited about, specifically with their larger aspirations with Taiwan as well. So very complicated situation, as there's North Korean troops right now just waiting to enter Ukraine.
Well, I think we can all agree Zelensky will start the largest GoFundMe page ever.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's
and the British government's actually talking about sending in their own troops if the United States pulls out here. So you have a countermeasure against one of the biggest leverage points for Donald Trump that essentially is holding on to the aid that Ukraine is dependent on. As, of course, the United States military has overwhelmingly supplied the Ukrainian military with a lot of its arms to the point where it's detrimental for America. A lot of the weapons that we use are in short supply in the United States because we shipped a lot of it over to Ukraine, to the point where we're not in a safe position ourselves. Now, if the United States, if Donald Trump says, I'm going to pull funding, the UK is now saying, we'll just step in there and take over the role for the United States. Now, are they bluffing? Are they saying that? But it takes away a big kind of negotiation tactic for Donald Trump that, of course, isn't able to leverage that as well as he would if the UK and NATO wouldn't be getting involved and saying, we'll just supply it ourselves.
Well, I mean, it's better them than us. I mean, at the end of the day, we cannot afford to fund this war. And we have no position being involved in it. We should have never been involved in this thing. It's not our problem. Again, like, we're not the world peacekeeper. It's not our problem. I understand the NATO thing, but you got to look at it from Russia's point of view. We're surrounding them with NATO bases. What would we do if Mexico started like putting naval bases and army bases around us? Like, I know it's like, you're a Russian sympathizer. No, I'm not. I'm just looking at it from a nuanced standpoint. Russia's like, yo, we got to do something or we're in some big trouble.
Again, I think this is just a normal person standpoint. And this is another factor, in my opinion, why you saw so many young people turning out for this election, right? I have to remember, millennials and Gen Zers, we grew up in this post 9/11 era. Yeah. With endless wars and debt hanging over our heads and zero chance at the American dream. And young people look at us constantly getting ourselves into wars. Look, the fraternity brothers and the men in this country just saved America without having to go to war, just by getting that piece of paper in the ballot box.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the entire situation over there, it should have never happened. And obviously, we intervened along with the UK in keeping this thing going and not negotiating something that both parties were up to negotiate. Yeah. We wanted this war. But at the end of the day, are you willing to send your children out to fight for this? Are you willing to send your children out to fight? And how many Ukrainian men have died in this war? They literally genocided the military age men in Ukraine. Who has really won? And the thing is, if you look at these oligarchs, I read somewhere, and you fact check me, everybody, if I'm wrong, that like what is it called? Supercar sales or whatever is in Ukraine are like super high. Like, they're buying a ton of luxury items. The money is not accounted for either. Let's say we are shipping money there. Why won't they let us audit it? The IRS can come in and audit us at any time, yet we cannot audit where the government spends their money. True. They're literally spending it, and we're like, hey, we need an audit. They're like, no, we're not doing it. We're not auditing this.
Hopefully Elon and Vivek can change that.
Where is this money going?
Because we do need to, I agree with you, we do need to be auditing that. We need to stay out of wars, by the way. We need to stay out of wars. I agree with you. We shouldn't be in wars. I think, Donald Trump was known for no new wars when he was in office. I want to keep that going. Ceasefire. I'd love to stop all of the wars, Ukraine and the Israeli conflict. That'd be what I would want.
Well, I do think Trump will have a way to stop it. I'm confident they didn't start a war when he was in. For some reason, Trump being in office keeps people from FAFOing.
Yeah, he said when he was on Rogan, he was like, they're like, how are you going to stop? He's like, how are you going to stop the war? And he's like, well, I can't really tell you that, but I'm just going to have a talk with them and it's going to end. I mean, I have to have faith. Like you said, energies, we got to manifest what we want in life. And I want to have faith until he proves me wrong, and I'll call him out when he does.
I kind of take that as the man in the room, being the man in the room again. Like, don't worry how I'm going to do it. I'm going to handle it.
I got this.
That's great. He's a leader. He's not a beta cuck.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
It's just going to be very difficult to unwind that situation, as of course there's going to be a lot of liberal bureaucrats within his administration that are going to want war. The New York Times had a very interesting op-ed piece that said, when did liberals become so comfortable with war? As they're the party of this larger conflict. A lot of the governments in Europe, very, of course, quote, liberal, but also very hungry for war. And seeing this stark difference, especially with J.D. Vance now saying things like this, again, makes the biggest difference, I think, when it comes to this administration. And this is why I'm very allergic to any kind of neocon being in there, because the neocons are sharing the same sentiments as a lot of these war hawk liberals out there. I never thought I would say that. I grew up during the Bush years where all the liberals were anti-war. All of them are now pro-war, and now we have the Republican vice president of the United States literally saying we're going to drop support for NATO if you attack Elon Musk's platform. This is the way here. This is definitely the way to kind of approach this situation, as of course lies usually start wars and truth usually ends it. So I think a big kind of factor in all of this will be independent media, will be us being able to talk to each other and send out the larger kind of rational message that, war's not the message. War's not the answer. Blowing people up isn't the right thing to do. And, financing the coffers of the military-industrial complex is something that we have done for far too long with no results at all. What's the objective here? What are we gaining? What are we winning? Why are we investing and telling this country, this poor country that has some of the most corrupted politicians in the world, why are we sacrificing them for what? What's the larger objectives here? And I think once we start those conversations and get the American public behind this and get the people of Europe behind this is why I think NATO is so pissed off about Twitter and Elon Musk, because I think they understand, hey, if people come together, they start talking with each other, they'll understand that we're not each other's enemies. They'll understand that blowing each other up is not the answer here. So I think this is why we're seeing such a very hard stance from NATO, specifically against Twitter and X. And I think that, to me, explains it perfectly here. But even Joe Scarborough of MSNBC even admitted that Trump was previously very tough on Russia. Trump, again, a lot of people think he's just going to kind of come in there and everything's going to be hunky-dory. No, there's going to be some very serious negotiations. And if you remember, Donald Trump was the person that was the first president to arm Ukraine with lethal weapons. His stance against Russia was tough, even though the corporate media was lying to everyone about, quote, Russian collusion. Here's the clip from Joe Scarborough, which I think was very interesting.
It will be interesting, Mika. Obviously, you've got the North Koreans now there that are going to be fighting and trying to push further with the Russians into Ukraine. But the question is, again, we've talked about this a good bit over the past few years. You have Donald Trump, what he says to Vladimir Putin, and then you have the actual policies that have been fairly tough in the first administration because the Senate was pushing really tough restrictions. I think the last thing he would wanting to be seen as a strong man, would be to have be forever remembered as the guy who lost Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
See what if there is any settlement, what the settlement looks like.
Leaders of political organizations who have been
who would have thought even MSNBC is not drinking their own Kool-Aid about Russian collusion anymore. Who would have thought?
I mean, what more are they going to say? They've been beating the Russia drum. I think America's just tired of hearing it. Like the liberals who still have their little Ukrainian flags on their bio. Like, okay, how many people actually care? Like,
I call it privilege. It's like Russia, Russia, Russia privilege. if you can complain about some made up hoax that's already been debunked numerous times and the rest of these others, like January 6th, you are truly privileged. If you don't have to be concerned about sending your kids to school, about affording milk, about affording eggs, about filling up your gas tank, buying a home, and any of the other crises that we're dealing with after this disastrous administration, then you are truly privileged. So,
yeah, people on the streets, man, people in the hood, they do not care about Ukraine. They just don't.
Can confirm.
They're worried about putting food on the table. They're worried about their kids getting a good education.
Yeah.
And they want a safe community. They want their community to be safe. They don't care about the Ukraine. And I'm not minimizing the great people in the Ukraine, but we need to worry about the people in America before we start worrying about people overseas. And also realize if we got involved in every conflict like this, we'd be in how many countries in Africa? We'd be in how many countries all over the world?
Well, hey, they want to send women to war. Come on, that's
hey,
where
man,
we draw
y'all want
draw
equal
the line.
rights, you know?
Not me.
No, I believe we should protect our women. Our women, you know, we need them to be women. And men should go and fight wars. But the key to preventing anybody from fighting a war is not getting involved in wars that we don't need to be in.
Yeah, no, protect our men as well. Protect our young men.
Yeah, don't send them to war. So the problem is, you know, the government doesn't see you as an individual.
Right.
They see you as a number. Well, we only lost 1,000 people. We only lost 10,000 people. Those are people. Those are people with families. Those are people who are carrying on a legacy. So they look at people as expendable. And that's what happens when you get into government. You start looking at it like, you ever play that board game Risk when you were a kid? You're taking over territories.
Sure.
They look at it like that, but they don't see the individual sacrifice.
And you know where Joe Biden depicted that so disgustingly? When he was talking about the amount of young women that we have lost in this country because of the illegal immigrants that have come over to America to rape and to murder young females.
Yeah.
They said it was a handful of women or whatever the comment was.
I don't care if there's one. I don't care if there's two. We need to do our best to eliminate unnecessary deaths. And that's where we're at right now. We literally this election was as much a mandate on everything we talked about as it is for ending the endless wars.
It's going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot of people who want to see these wars continue. Another thing that is kind of worrying is that Congress could soon also try to buy weapons for Ukraine before Trump gets into office. So they, of course, will have the weapons to fight, even if Donald Trump doesn't want them to fight anymore. So they're acting proactively here in a very deceptive way that, of course, will go against Donald Trump in a very undemocratic way in order to, of course, continue the larger coffers of the military-industrial complex that, of course, is literally making money off of death and misery. We're going to go to callers now, as, of course, members of LukeUnfiltered.com get the ability to call in to the show, as Atlas is feeling a little rambunctious today as she just knocked down my cup here. She has a great personality. We love her. Samson, it looks like your line is busy. Make sure to, of course, not be on the phone with anybody, and then we will go to you, and you'll be able to, of course, call in and be a part of this conversation. Steph, we have a super chat. Let's read it off really quick.
Sure, we have MAGA Femboy saying, voted for Orange Man for the first time this election and convinced two other people to vote solely due to the fact that RFK will ban dyes. I think once people realize this agenda is pro-life, liberty, and happiness and health, and not about hate, they will wake up too.
Thank you about that. As of course, we got Samson on the line here. Samson,
hey guys,
thank you so much for being a member. Thank you so much for calling in. You are live on air with everybody right now.
What a beard.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much. And thanks to Atlas for the big welcome.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate you guys very much. Thanks for taking the call. It's so fun to be able to jump online with you guys. I think you guys have one of the best podcast studios online. I know it's better than Kamala's at the $100,000 studio she built.
Yeah, we
But,
spent about like, what was it, $2,000 on all of this? Not even, and a lot of this is hand built by Stephanie and Eliza Turner and myself. They all worked incredibly hard. Everything here handmade, by the way, and we didn't outsource it. Steph did a lot of work herself on it as well. We have like a custom light kit. We're working on a custom not a teleprompter. What's the thing that they have in stadiums in the middle? Jumbotrons. We're working on a custom Jumbotron, by the way, that's going to be above there. That's going to have different screens on it. Really, shouts out to Liza Turner, who's one of our members. And potato, you know what I'm saying?
Nice.
She literally came out during one of our meetups. We do meetups for members of LukeUnfiltered.com, and she's been a godsend, and she has helped us out a lot. So shouts out to Liza Turner, trainer. Potato. Sorry, go ahead.
That's that's awesome. Well, I had just a few comments and then a question, just with regards to what we've seen, this trajectory. As I've been, kind of trying to wake people up to stuff for the last 15 years. I owe a lot to Alex Jones that my kids aren't vaccinated. I'm Gen X with some young kids, and we didn't vaccinate any of them. And just seeing the really serious problem with the police state. Really felt it really wasn't a black or white, but it was more of a blue problem. The illegal wars and coming up against just everything that's taken place, and finally for me coming to terms with, man, I think Trump is definitely a stick in the craw of the beast. With regards to health, and this is exciting with Bobby Kennedy there. We haven't seen him placed yet, but here where I'm at, holding the line here on the Pacific Northwest, we were out. We protested everything. We were out in front of the local CDC here, burning masks and doing stuff. They had some clandestine meetings that were supposed to be public. We made a lot of noise for that and stopped the mandates from becoming being able to be pushed through law, being able to be criminalized, those that didn't follow them. And we got a really good guy, an alternative med, at the head of the local organization. So some pretty big wins at the cost of a lot of people, some people's freedom, even, believe it or not. And so, that was one of the biggest things with Trump, was just like, what's going on? So as far as with warp speed, as far as with where we're at now, and some of his rhetoric, even during the time, like talking about hydrochloroquine, talking about ivermectin, but with what we face with big pharma and just how prevalent they are in everything. What do you guys see as upcoming change that we can see, and where do you think Trump really stands? And do you guys have any other narrative regarding the warp speed initiative that could maybe help kind of shed some light on what could have been going on there with behind the scenes, or what Trump was really dealing with? He just had to do something that he had to do. He couldn't really stop it. And I've heard that it would dilute, the shot, so there was more placebos.
Well, I
less
heard
people
Trump.
Anyway,
Trump was a true believer in Operation Warp Speed. RFK Jr. obviously had a very different kind of position on it, and him being there, I think RFK Jr. played a very significant role in getting Donald Trump elected, and I think Donald Trump understands that. And I think, bar minimum, at least we're going to have double-blind placebo studies now done on the efficacy of these specific procedures. We got to be a little careful because we're still on YouTube, but at least now I think we're finally going to get the studies. We're finally going to look into a lot of this, and a lot of the studies, I think, will be less politicized like they were previously beforehand. The scientific community, we found out through 2020 and 2021, was bought off just like Congress was. And I think right now we're going to see the receipts of where that money came from, what was bought, what was done. And I think even through the declassification efforts, we'll be able to find out exactly what happened here. So I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited about the double-blind placebo study, about the procedures that I think will really be indicative of the truth here. And we're not asking for radical changes here. All we're asking here is for the scientific method to be followed and respected here. And I think we're going to be doing that in a real honest and clear way. What about you guys?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think back in 2020, it was kind of all new for folks, right? It was kind of like this peek behind the kimono finally. But for so many Americans that weren't awake already, maybe including Donald Trump, who wasn't so on board with everything that's wrong and with health in this country, I think it was the start to uncovering all of that and to have everyday normal people starting to ask questions, starting to challenge the status quo and the ways in which we consumed information on health and trusted big pharma, big health, big food. And 2020 was just the start of all of that. So a lot of trial and error, but I think we deserve these answers to the questions that we've had for the past 4 years.
I think during 2020, everybody was looking for an answer from the government. Yeah. Everybody wanted to get that procedure. Like, I wonder when the government's going to have a procedure for this, right?
And it was the liberals and the Democrats that were saying, "Don't take it."
Oh yeah,
and then they changed their tune as soon as Biden got in office.
Would you trust anything Trump came out with this fast?
Yep.
So the main difference is,
which he was right about, we shouldn't have trusted.
Trump's vaccine.
The question is, would Trump have mandated it? And I mean, remember, Trump signed into law the right to try, which is the right to experiment with different, pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And so he was all for that. So he came out with this. He's like, hey, if you feel a need to take this, this might get us back to normalcy faster. So I was one of the first people to come out and just blast Trump for Operation Warp Speed. But as I look back, like I remember, I'm like, they'll have a procedure for this in the future. And I think he was just answering, and he went to Pfizer and Moderna, and he's like, hey guys, figure something out. But would he have mandated it? And I'm going to have to lean towards no. When the Democrats wanted to mandate it for us to be able to even go to work, live our lives, go to the grocery store, again, I'm not against the actual procedure. I'm against the mandating of the procedure.
It would have been nice
I was
if he
against
was
the procedure, just based off the basic kind of science behind it, which there really wasn't any. It was just a bunch of lies and profits by big pharma that they wanted to take in themselves.
But it's the right to try.
Exactly, and they should have a right to try, but it shouldn't just be with that one thing where there's no liability from it. If you're going to try it, have some liability at least behind it.
Or informed consent.
Exactly, and there was no informed consent.
None.
One of the biggest things that I saw Donald Trump actually talk about was specifically saying that there's going to be some restitution towards all the U.S. military service members that were discriminated and fired because they didn't go along with this specific procedure. So seeing Donald Trump actually say that and seeing him surrounded with RFK Jr. that has been fighting this for such a long time restored my faith in this. Robbie, you were saying something? Sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, look, Trump comes from the background of McDonald's and Diet Coke, and I think that's why it's so transcendent, as I'll use that word, for Bobby to come in and kind of show him. I'm more of a holistic stuff. So I'm like, vitamin D, vitamin C, grounding, exercise, yoga, breath work.
Yeah.
But that's not big pharma. That's not how they make their money. I wish they'd promote that. That'd be nice.
Well, there's no incentive there.
Yeah.
Which Bobby Kennedy talks about all the
Big
time.
Pharma's incentive is to have you sick, so they make you a reoccurring customer. If they solve your problems, they of course will be out of business, and I think they should be out of business, especially with the way that they have been.
Absolutely,
they tried to give my mother I don't know if I want to say the name of the thing online, but I'll just not say the name. But I had to go to the hospital, and they tried to give her this thing that's there's a lot of lawsuits for it, and I was like, dude, you're not going to kill my mom,
thing.
Huh?
Yeah. I think I know the thing.
You know what I'm talking about? It starts with the NAR.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Starts with the NAR.
Yes, sir. I know
I went
exactly.
on a radio show about it because I was like, dude, you're not going to. I literally got to the hospital within 30 minutes of about to kill my mom. I was like, you're not going to kill my mom. They're like, where'd you get this information? I was like, dude, and like she ended up being fine and was great, and I was bringing her vitamins and bringing her all kinds of stuff into the hospital, but. I'm just glad she's alive. I mean, because they could have easily gave that to her, and I don't know if.
And a lot of people didn't make it.
See, that's just it. It's real. This is real people, people dying, and that affected us in ways we'd never seen. I think Trump was just learning as he went. I guess.
Yeah.
We kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he would have enacted those kinds of draconian measures that we saw. But I think a lot of us, when it hit, we went, okay, well, here's what they're doing next. Other people were scared, but we knew right away this is the next move. And it was so frustrating to not be able to, hold the way. We did as much as we could, a lot of us, and we saw a lot of nurses and doctors. Anyway, that's for Rumble. But it's so encouraging, guys, to see this turn and to actually see for the first time, like real exposure of the darkness and real people standing firm for what's right, and maybe even a rise of the republic, possibly for the first time. I mean, it's awesome.
Absolutely. I agree. I posted something similar to your question a couple moments ago on my Instagram and Twitter with RFK Jr. with the red eyes, with the caption that reads, "It's a really bad time to be seed oils, glyphosate, astrazine, red 40, yellow 5, Fruit Loops, and fluoride." And hell yeah. So I think there's also a larger kind of information victory here that I want to talk about here in a little bit as well here. But Samson, thank you so much for being a member. Thank you so much for calling in. I think we already sent you out a supplement from wearechange.shop. Did you get the supplement yet?
You know, I have not received that yet, but still waiting for that. But Luke, you said I could. I just wanted to give a shameless plug. I'm trying to learn from the best, trying to learn from you guys. So I'm finally getting some momentum. I got Roundtable Media with Dan and Lee. My co-host was actually in Mad Max 3, the Thunderdome. He's a cool guy, fight for liberty. And so we're really just trying to do a podcast that way. And we're doing some live videos.
You,
on Rumble at Roundtable Media. And we are also on YouTube, Roundtable Media.
Awesome, Samson. Thank you so much for being a member. Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate you. And you got a great setup there. I like the bookshelves.
Samson, you're a good leader.
I like
you're
the
a good
studio
leader, Samson.
you got there that you're setting up there.
Yeah,
so best of luck.
Hey, you guys are awesome. I love you guys.
The beard.
Okay.
We like the beard. We also have Change Media University, which
it
is a free.
Great too soon. Oh,
check out Change Media University on LukeUnfiltered.com. We take people through the steps of how to be independent media as well through there. So Samson,
I saw that. Yes, I'm gonna look at. Yep.
And I'm trying to inspire Mark to do masculinity coaching and workshops at his house. I don't know if he's down.
Well, I mean, I do it every day. I coach kids every single day. So that's the coaching. But it's not just masculinity. It's also teaching females to also be strong and independent.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's what it's about, right? We're all doing a part. That's what this is, man. It's
focus on your community first. Everybody focus on the federal government. Start with your community and it'll build.
Yeah.
Samson, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Thank you so much for calling in. Always great to have people call in. We don't tell people what they can and cannot say, as you could see by that particular caller. As, of course, we love free speech, and we love people being able to express themselves, challenge us. Sometimes we got people calling in, challenging us, and I think that's one of the best callers that we've had on this particular show throughout the year that we've been kind of doing this. It's almost a year. I think we're almost at a year anniversary that we've been doing this particular show. Thebestpoliticalshow.com, very modest name, but definitely it was a different time last year, as of course right now these larger changes are being implemented in our society. These memes are becoming a reality, and I think even if, let's just say, worst case scenario, nothing happens. Let's just say something, God forbid, something happens and, Donald Trump isn't the next president, whatever. At least this information is getting out there to the general public.
Yeah.
At least we are starting the conversations that will make people change within themselves. And I think that right there is the biggest victory. All the lies, all the darkness is finally being exposed. All the people are finally tuning out of the corporate media, tuning into independent media, getting their news from original sources, having legitimate conversations that are not scripted, that are not fake, that we're literally reacting to as the news breaks. I literally have Twitter open right now, and I'm going through every single tweet that's breaking as we're speaking right now, because there could be some breaking news happening that we're, of course, discussing in real time as it does. It doesn't get more kind of real than that. And to me, the biggest victory is the victory people individually take within themselves, specifically by deciding that their own health is in their own hands. And these larger videos that RFK Jr. is releasing are absolutely huge, as he goes by item describing how a lot of the countries banned these items. These items are responsible for health issues that you might have in your life right now. And people listening to this, tuning into this, is a major white pill, because even without government, there's going to be so many individuals that are going to change their lives because of this optimism. And I don't know about you guys, but I am very optimistic about the future. I'm very optimistic about the future of America. And I couldn't be prouder of the United States, to be quite honest with you
Welcome
guys.
to the golden age.
Yes.
Yeah.
I told my wife on election night, I'm like, you know what? Even if it doesn't go our way, the awakening we have seen, the fact that you have people not afraid to say what they believe, that you have people talking about these things openly, I think we're noticing a renaissance in this country. I think we're going to see something great. And look, I never got down on America. I was disappointed at one point that people were afraid to stand up, mainly during 2020 and 2021 when I was canceled, lost 8-figure deals with grocery stores because I wouldn't give in to mandates. And I fought against, that's kind of how I got into this whole arena, right? I didn't intend to be political. It wasn't my thing. Like when the stock market crashed, when the whole market crashed in 2008, 2009, I didn't learn about it till 2015. I was busy running my business and raising a family. I owned a business and a house, and I had no idea anything crashed because I was just focused on what was at hand.
Yeah.
But
you're a man of God. You're a good father, man. This is how all fathers should be.
Well, sales went down, right? I noticed if I look back, and I still have those charts, I still kept them. If I look back, it was like we were growing in 2004 to 2007. 2008, 9, we're like, eh. And I was like, man, I just got to work harder. So I never looked at it. Now I'm looking at it. And it is a true renaissance. And I believe that just looking at consumer outlook, looking at all the numbers, all the metrics of consumer confidence, we are in for a boom. This is going to be a great couple of years, hopefully a great century. I think we've set forth and people have woken up. And I look at 2020, 2021, it was terrible, right? Terrible what this country went through. Terrible what the world went through, right? Australia had camps. But because of that, people are awake.
And I think it speaks to a larger victory, which is a spiritual awakening.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah.
And that really makes someone like me happy. Having young people want the family unit again. They want God and faith as centerpieces. They want to restore all of the values and the principles that this country was founded on. And to hear that in my contemporaries, instead of doing the degenerate stuff that we've been doing for so long is so powerful. So more than, the rebirth of the economy, which we so badly need, and our food supply and big pharma and big health, we need a rebirth of spirituality in this country.
If you don't believe in God by now, after watching the bullet, Trump moves his head, and we might not even be in the situation right now. I mean, how can you not believe in God in this situation?
We would have been in such a different position right now if he didn't move his head. Like, imagine.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And you got crazy people like Congressman. I guess this is insane. These people, Congressman Jared Moskowitz from Florida is like, he's nominating Tulsi Gabbard to lead our intelligence community is incredibly reckless. Putting someone with known sympathies for foreign adversaries is not putting America's interests first. It's putting our security at risk. These people are delusional, man. Tulsi is served our country with honor. She's a commendable person. I'm very honored that she's serving. But you see these things that people are out there, and it's really sick.
And the fact that they're in the government.
Yeah,
right?
He's a congressman. That's how much the Russian collusion got to him and many people. They believe they're drinking the Kool-Aid.
I'm not a litigious man, but she should be able to sue him for everything he has for slander. Yeah. Like right there, like that is her character. And you could probably, I don't know if you know how libel and slander lawsuits work. You have to show a discernible loss. You have to be able to show a tangible, discernible loss of income or something else. That is definitely affecting her reputation to the point where she can show damages. So, I mean, I'm not a guy to say lawfare, but at this point, what do you do when someone just keeps saying the same thing over and over to an active service member? That's the crazy thing. She's still doing the time.
I know. He's a goner. I mean, God bless him. Rest in peace, bro. I mean, he's I don't know if he's going to come back. Hopefully they can show him. Maybe he can learn some real stuff. Go on Twitter. He's been just listening to the mainstream media for too long.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah, one thing that really has me excited about this is that, a lot of people are excited about government taking action, but that's not what I'm excited about. What I'm excited about is individuals taking action and being responsible for themselves and being positive role models. I think, Mark, you're a perfect example of a positive male role model, someone that takes care of their body, takes care of their family members, is a businessman, is an entrepreneur. We were just talking about doing some really cool, business stuff when it comes to providing healthy alternatives to people, especially when it comes to providing healthy proteins out there for individuals, as a lot of people don't consume enough protein in their life. A lot of people don't lift weights. A lot of people don't work out. And I think think this larger kind of initiative, this kind of larger incentive that people now have saying, yo, I could do this. I could start a business. There won't be any regulations. There won't be any kind of taxes that will hinder me. I will finally be able to be fully unleashed and be able to decide my destiny that is in my own hands. That's the difference between right-wingers and people on the left. The people on the left are like, what is the government going to do for me? The people on the right are like, there's going to be less government. I could actually do something for me and my family and my community and my neighborhood. And I think that is the biggest kind of approach that we should have from this. Not what my government could do for me, but what can you do for yourself and your families and your communities.
Yes.
JFK said what you could do for the government. Screw that. Screw the government. We don't want the government. We want less government. And that right there is the biggest kind of evolution, not even a revolution, an evolution that we're seeing in America right now that I think has the potential of bringing on the Renaissance.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I mean, I don't think people realize how hard it is to run a business.
Yeah.
You're taxed at a 37% top corporate tax rate. That's before state, before all the other taxes. So for every $100 you make, 37 is lopped off immediately.
Well, Kamala Harris said she understood small businesses are the backbone.
She's middle class. She comes from a middle class family.
It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because it's really hard to make ends meet. And then people look and Biden's like, shrinkflation. Oh, there's not enough chips in the bag. So the reason there's shrinkflation is to keep the price point at something people will buy. To make any profit, to make any margin, you literally have to reduce the serving size. It's something you have to do. You have no choice. They think and there's a lot of corporations making a lot of money doing it the wrong way. Imagine having a startup, right? And you're at, let's say, at 25 to 37%, tax rate. How do you make that work? Right. And to operate, like, I don't think people understand the margins it takes to run a business. It's like, it's not 20%. To operate a business and be able to sustain and grow and scale, you need to be at 40 to 50% margin. And hopefully I'm not speaking in terms that's kind of losing people. At the end, it's really hard to make money. It's really hard to make it. So now, if we ease these burdens, if we ease the corporate tax rate, it allows people like you and me and Luke to sustain and grow and build new empires and provide competition to these monopolies.
And hire people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here with a bar going up against Cliff. They're $1 billion brand. So they can afford some things going left and right. And then they're like, oh, the grocery stores are getting... Dude, grocery stores operate on like a 2 to 3% margin. Just to give you perspective, that is almost impossible. They obviously make it work. Yeah. So when you look at everything combined, if we can make this economy in a favorable way that eases regulations, eases the corporate tax rate, it's not just going to make the big corporations rich. It's going to give opportunities to us, to the normal American, to start, sustain, and scale a business. And that's what we need to do. We need to make it where people can grow and build legacies and build the new mega brands that will make this country amazing.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Unless you want to get rich off a meme token. I mean, this is a cycle for that too. But I think you should be an entrepreneur. Be an entrepreneur. It's like hitting the lottery to get rich off a meme token. This is the way to go, guys. Follow him.
Absolutely. That's why I like having Mark around. That's why every time I'm like, Mark, you got to come out. Mark, you got to come out. Because I want to be around Mark. I want to be around someone that wants to work out, that wants to do business, that wants to, of course, talk, build, and grow. As soon as you came in here, I'm like, we're going to the gym. Let's go.
Yeah.
You are the people that you kind of surround yourself with. So I'm happy to surround myself with individuals like you, Mark.
Will you spot me at the gym next time?
Sure.
Yeah. I do funny videos whenever we're at the gym with Mark. I'm on my Instagram being like, I got to teach this weakling here a thing or two. And of course, Mark has taught me a lot when it comes to personal fitness and working out and taking care of myself. So I always take every opportunity I have with him. And I'm like, teach me what you learned, because you've learned exactly how to kind of master the body and work out and take care of yourself, which I think, I think should equal some kind of potential position within Trump's administration.
I would do that for free. Like, that would be an honor to be a part of this, part of this movement. As you can tell by my hat, like, I'm a huge fan. Like, we came out, believe it or not, like, I had a Make America Healthy Again shirt 3 years ago. And it's something that I just thought made sense because, like I said before, it's trickle down. If people are healthier, they're more productive, and they cost less. You know how much healthcare costs just due to obesity and treatable, like preventable issues. Obesity is the number one comorbidity for everything. If we could find a way to get obesity, like trim it a little bit, no pun intended, we're in a great position.
Well, what I've said this whole time, being part of this conservative movement for quite some time now, there is no MAGA without Maha, because we can't measure the success of a nation solely based on GDP, on borders. We have to base the success of a nation on how healthy its people are.
Yes.
And I'm, again, just so happy. This is kind of how I accidentally got into politics as well. I had a personal story that happened to me where I got diagnosed with basically 10 different autoimmune conditions overnight. And I was 18 years old in college. And it kind of just put me on a path of becoming my own best advocate. It made me mature faster. I was going up against these surgeons and doctors telling me that my perfectly healthy body for 18 years was no longer going to function, and doom and gloom. And it really opened my eyes to how corrupt big health is, big pharma, these medical institutions. And I traveled the entire country trying to get answers. I went to the Cleveland Clinic. I went to Mayo Clinic. I ended up having 2 organs removed. Whoa, that's how sick I was.
You should have listened to Michaela Peterson.
Yeah, no, it's and this is what's happening to young people, right? And when you don't have a voice, you're not able to do your own research. You get taken advantage of by this community. And so that's kind of, it was through that and a documentary film that I was working on with one of the doctors at the Mayo Clinic. She was putting together a film on why so many young females, especially, were getting diagnosed with these metabolic dysfunction disorders and autoimmune conditions. And I just found my voice. And so that's kind of how I got involved in politics accidentally. And now look, to have this one man demand, we are having this conversation on the national stage right now. I mean, it really hits home, and it's personal for me also.
I didn't think they were going to let Trump win with the Kennedy thing, but we manifested it because I was like, this is too good to be true. I mean, my dad, rest in peace, passed away in 2019. I got to learn the hospital industry really well, and they didn't have the best interest. The way these doctors aren't necessarily bad people. They're given the wrong information. They're not giving any of the holistic approach. They're not giving anything. They're just so. It's not like they're bad people. It's just like what you said, you're trained poorly. And my mom went through something recently too. Thank God she's alive. I love you, Mom, if you're watching. But the thing is this Bobby coming in is just such a amazing thing, and I'm just so excited for what's in store.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Caitlin. I appreciate that. As of course, a lot of us have to deal with a lot of crazy things since there's so many poisons out there that are just being released into our drinking water, into our environment, into our food, and really taking care of your own health is something that when you first start doing, it's very difficult. It's very confusing. But once you kind of start getting into it, you really start realizing how almost everything is a conspiracy against you. and the planet is being run by, eugenicists and people who believe that there's too many people in this world. And that's why we call it out as best as we can. That's why we started WeAreChange.shop. We started our own vitamin shop because I was looking into all these vitamins. I was like, which ones do I trust? Which ones do I not trust? How do I get into this? And that's why we started to really focus on health. And we're going to be doing that a lot more past this political cycle. And of course, working more with Mark and working more with a lot of other people in this specific realm, helping people make those first initial steps, getting involved in their own health, doing their own blood work, making sure that their health is optimized in a way where a lot of the predatory industries out there that prey on you being sick finally get defeated by you not participating in their larger scams against you. This was a great show. This was really fun. We're going to do 10 more minutes just for members of LukeUnfiltered.com, but we're going to leave our viewing audience here on all the platforms that we are on. We're on a bunch of platforms. So we're going to leave those platforms, and then we're going to do 10 minutes where we're going to ask our guests their most kind of controversial opinion. We just started to do this. It's a lot of fun. But before getting out of here, Caitlin, where can people find out more information about you, and where can they support your work?
You could follow me on X at C Sinclair TV. And like I said, I'm the spokeswoman for Turning Point. So to keep up with everything we're doing, you can follow us, Turning Point Action. The app is just TP Action and tpaction.com.
Awesome. Mark.
TigerFitness.com is my store. Also, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and all that at Mark Lobliner, MarcLobliner, and on YouTube, youtube.com/ Tiger Fitness, youtube.com/Tiger Fitness.
Caitlin, will you be debating any liberals on Turning Point? Like when Charlie does that?
Oh, I'm all on board for that. Sign me up. Charlie needs a break.
Yeah, he should have you do it. I think you'd be good for that.
Thank you. I'll pitch.
If you guys want to see some of my Man on the Street interviews, if you want to talk about, well, I'm going to be talking about meme tokens now because it's the season, but The Robbie Man on YouTube and The Robbie Man with two ROBBIEMANN on Twitter.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing your stories too, Robbie. Appreciate that as well.
I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Yeah, we got to bring awareness to this stuff. I mean, like people go to the hospital and they think that their family's gonna be okay, and it's you have to do the research. You have to be there because if they'll let you die. I mean,
for sure.
It's
hey,
really
this is what we preach the whole show: being authentic, right?
Yep.
So.
Exactly.
Steph, you talk way too much.
Settle down, girl.
I'm not here. Everyone, this is Steph WRC on X. Have a good night.
All right, we're going to continue the conversation right now for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. Atlas knows exactly when we end this broadcast, and she's like, this is the time that we go out and